My camera's a little messed up all day.
All right. Welcome, guys, to the MMOs.com podcast. Episode 169 here. We had a little bit of camera difficulty, but I quickly fixed it. And we're joined once again on this auspicious week with the one, the only, you.
Omer.
That's right. That's
You
right.
didn't introduce yourself, though, did you?
No, well, I said we are joined by. So
Oh.
I
feel like it's always auspicious, though.
I was including myself and the audience as we.
Now, what makes this week any more auspicious than other weeks? I feel like auspicious is a word people use to sound smarter than they actually are. Because I feel like it's very difficult in normal conversation to use auspicious and not appear like a douchebag. You could do it in writing. You can write like a news piece or something like for a newspaper with that term. But I feel like you just really can't get away with saying it.
Well, you know what? You got me. It's not auspicious.
Got him.
The only thing I could think of is the episode number 169. 69 is a sex number, so it's always a little, giggly.
I have a bit of a story about 69. I might have shared this in a previous podcast, but I don't know. For the longest time, I had no idea what 69 was. Like, I just remember, like, in middle school, every time somebody said 69 and people giggled, I was like, haha, it's hilarious. I get it, 69, right? I never fucking knew, right? It wasn't until, like, my senior year in high school I had any idea what the fuck 69 was, right? And for the longest time, I would always giggle, pretend to know what it was, and I would even make jokes about it, like with the same way everybody else. I would craft the jokes in the same kind of context, right? But I just had no idea.
It's amazing.
I just faked it, and
Mimicry.
it feels great coming clean. Finally I can tell the world that I didn't know what it meant.
So when did you learn? How old were
I told you, senior year of high school.
Okay.
Yeah, it took a while, and I've been fake pretending to know what it meant since then. It's one of those things that you're just too embarrassed to ask. You ever had a conversation where like somebody says something and you're not sure what that word means or like what he's talking about, right? But like you don't say anything up front, and the conversation kind of progresses like 5, 10, 15 minutes into the same direction, and you still have no idea what the fuck this word means, and you've been nodding and saying yes this whole time. You've gone too far. At that point, what do? Can you even truly ask the person like, what the fuck does this mean? Because you've already been nodding for the last 10 minutes.
No, you never ask. But if someone asks you directly, do you know this? Are you familiar with this? You say, remind me. Okay? Because you don't sound like you don't know. You're just asking him to explain it, in a summary, kind of like re-jog your memory way. So that's what we got to do.
That's a good strat. I do like to remind me strat. Somebody asked, do you have Google back then? I think in middle school, not like I'm pretty sure we had like Ask Jeeves and stuff, but like I never even thought about, I guess, Googling 69 on there. Google wasn't so like popular back then. I wanted to say ubiquitous, but that's also an asshole word that makes you try to seem smarter than you actually are. But I wanted to say it. So
let's get going with some MMO news. No weekly raid today. Didn't get around to thinking of a good one, but we have plenty of industry news to get us going for the first bit of the podcast here.
What do you got, Altai?
Well,
hit us up.
I thought the big bombshell of the week was Trion Worlds being sold to Gamigo.
It's actually Gamigo. Please get it right.
Gamigo?
Gamigo? Not Gamigo.
Whatever. So
Gamigo.
Trion Worlds is an American MMO studio. Their first title, self-developed, Rift, which actually launched as a subscription game, fantasy subscription game. Went free to play. I actually played it in beta, and I played it a lot when it went free to play, and I thought it was a great game. It really brought a lot of new ideas to the the fantasy MMORPG genre. The whole events happening on the map that I think like every game copied after that, including Final Fantasy, was pioneered by Rift. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It also pioneered a lot of the multi-classing stuff. You could kind of craft your character in very unique ways. So it was a fun game. Unfortunately, with time, things fade. Trion has released other games in the meantime. They're behind Trove, which is actually doing pretty well, I believe. Atlas Reactor, which is not doing so well. And Defiance 2050, which is also not doing well. And Arcage, which is a game they published. They haven't developed it, which is a Korean game. Has kind of had a really, really vocal backlash against it. Like all I hear about this game is how much Trion messed it up, basically.
Yeah, I've actually almost never heard something positive about Arcade. I mean, everyone kind of says it was a great game, and then Arcade, Trion just fucked it up. Though it was a game I never played too much, so I don't have too much of a personal stake over there, but it's just almost universal amongst people on RMRPG and of gaming circles and people I know that have played Arcade. they almost universally shit on Triumph. I'm almost kind of afraid to think like maybe it's one of those situations where people just like hate the publisher all the time. Like I know people hate Nexon all the time. People hate like Area Games all the time. But I don't think anything's received as much universal hate as ArcAge's treatment by Gamigo, by Trion rather now. So that probably is the biggest hate I've seen.
Yeah, and Derpy has said in chat, Arcade had so much potential. That's another phrase I hear a lot. That basically Trion Worlds squandered this dubious potential that the game had. Well, regardless of why this happened, I guess they weren't doing so well. Gamigo swooped in and purchased it, and this is the first big purchase Gamigo has made. I know you referenced Aria earlier as something people hate. Aria was actually bought by Gamigo as well in 2016. So they are a big powerhouse. They're based in Germany.
Hold on. Aria was bought by Gamigo as well. I thought is Gamigo owned by like Pro Siat Bon, or is that somebody else?
No, Aria was owned by that, and Gamigo purchased it.
Interesting. I thought so. Gamigo is owned by Pro Siat Bon.
No. Aria was owned by that.
Okay, so interesting. So now Pro Siat Bon, that German conglomerate, doesn't own Aria Games anymore.
I thought Pro Syria was Russian.
So
Aria is owned by Gamigo.
I got you. So they own both. They own Trion Worlds now, Gamigo, and Aria Games. That's actually a really big consolidator in the free to play world right now. Like what other big free to play publishers are there in North America? Like back in the day, you had stuff like EG, you had OG Planet, you had G Potato. These all gone. They've all been merged with other companies.
You had Outspark, which also was purchased by Gamigo even further back. So they are now the ones running Fiesta because of that purchase.
Yeah, it's interesting how there's so few publishers now back compared to back then.
Yeah, publishers have taken a huge beating. These portals, MMO portals, especially in America. In Europe, they actually kind of remain strong, which is why Gamigo keeps buying them. One of their competitors is GameForge, another German publisher, and they're still going strong. I wonder when those two will merge to create the ultimate German consolidator of crap Asian games.
But GameForge, I don't think they have a lot of big games. Like, what does GameForge have? Doesn't GameForge publish like Aeon in Europe or something? There's really not too much on their platter. I mean, their most recent game, Soulwork, has been doing pretty well. Like that's really the only more recent launches from them I've heard of. Like, if you go on their homepage, yeah, they have Aeon in Europe, they have Terra in Europe, and then the other two games they highlight on their homepage are O Game, some garbage strategy game that's on the browser that's purely pay to win, and then Soulworker. They have a lot of games, but I feel like they're not very big.
They have 4-story, dude.
Dude, they have Nostale.
Runes of Magic.
Metin 2.
And Metin 2. That's right.
You know Metin 2, that game is huge.
Can I turn... All right, let me turn my mic. But anyway, back to Trion here. So, there was no official announcement initially. The news came out in bits and pieces through the official Discord and the forums. And then Trion had to release a statement saying, okay, yeah, it's true, we did this. And shockingly, well, maybe not shockingly, they have, they're going to fire the vast majority of the staff. So I believe there are around 200 employees at Trion Worlds, and the rumor currently, unconfirmed, is that all but 25 will be losing their job.
Wow.
So what that means to me is they have absolutely no interest in actually developing these games. They're going to just run them, as
well,
is.
I mean, it comes down to, I think a lot of that is like when you have two publishers, there's a lot of overlap. So they're going to just fire the, redundant staff between two companies. That's kind of normal. And actually, we probably should have seen this acquisition coming, because I know I put up on MMOs.com some news that Gamigo was raising like $50 million or something in bonds. So they raised like $50 million or something. We don't know who. I mean, that gives an idea how much they could have paid for Trion Worlds. Probably around that tune of $50 million.
Wow. And I know you said there's some. There's obviously when you buy a company, there's a lot of duplicate roles, so you fire people, right? But you would think, if they were planning on keeping all their games open, they would have to keep the developers, right? I mean, they can fire the customer support, they can fire the managers, the back end stuff, but you got to keep the developers. So honestly, to me, this seems like they're gonna. So what is the future of, for example, Defiance or Atlas Reactor? I think they're gonna be shut down again.
Yeah, those games are done. The games that don't have the player base, 100% Atlas Reactor, I think, is gone. I mean, it was a cool idea. It was interesting for them to try it, but it didn't catch on. It just doesn't have the player base to survive, right? I mean, we've seen a game like I think this week, Splash Damages, Dirty Bomb announced that basically they're not developing the game anymore, right?
Yeah, that's another one.
And they have over 600. They average over 600 players on Steam, and at that point, it wasn't, financially viable to keep the game running. And it's an FPS game, nothing too crazy, right? But you have a game. It just there's no way Atlas Reactor is going to survive with the player base it has. I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, it has way less than that too. I'm looking at Steam right now. Let's take a look. Yeah, Atlas Reactor is averaging over the last 30 days 151 players online right now. If I don't see the numbers making sense for them. If Splash Damage can't keep developing Dirty Bomb with over 600 players, there's no way they're going to keep developing Atlas Reactor. That game is shutting down for sure. I'm not so sure about Defiance just yet, only because it launched on consoles, and it might, I think MMORPGs on consoles still have kind of a bit of an allure, like a free-to-play market is just not nearly as explored on consoles. Like the MMO industry on PC for the longest time has been just bombarded with free-to-play games. You just haven't had that yet on consoles. So just launching any game on consoles will do better, I think. So there's a chance the game has an audience on console.
It is the whole console port of these free to play games is kind of weird because even Nexon is shutting down Hyper Universe, right, for PC in the West, but they're not shutting down on Xbox yet, which is very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know what the logic there is, but we shall see.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's because there aren't as many free to play games yet on consoles, not nearly as saturated.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they raised 32 million euros back in October 13th, right? So early this month. So if I had to guess, most of that money, it probably took them 32 million euros or less to acquire Gamigo. That was probably all that money was raised for, So it's probably the maximum cost for that. And they're big. They're really consolidating the industry. Somebody asked, what about Webzen? Webzen, basically, if I remember correctly, they're the ones that merged or bought out G Potato.
Yep.
So Webzen owns all the G Potato games, and really the G Potato games were nothing back in the day. All you had was Fly for Fun, right? And they're still keeping Fly for Fun running. And that was like the only game. It was actually Fly for Fun, and do you remember that other game, Altai? It was on the fantasy MMORPG?
Rapples?
Rapples, yes. Rapples is a game we rarely ever mention on this podcast, but it's a game that's really survived this test of time, right? Like Last Chaos from Area Games has also been kind of like Shea and Last Chaos of both games. They've been around forever. And both are kind of fun back in the day, but I haven't touched these games in like 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
And Rapples is still a thing, which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah,
so I mentioned S4 League. Oof.
It's still on Aria. It's still on Aria, yep.
It's still on life support, but the S4 League, nobody plays the game. It's so hard to find an audience in that game. I actually remember making an account, like a new account, and just launching it recently. And it's just there aren't a lot of players online. There's no way the beginner channel. You have to play on, like the free channel. And if you go, at certain hours, nobody's playing. The game is completely dead. And because the player base is so low, they have to charge more money for Catchup items to even keep the game viable. I just don't see the S4 League's audience even staying alive any longer. Yes, the game is technically alive right now, but just not that many people are still playing S4 League.
I actually think this whole industry still needs a lot more consolidation and a lot more games shutting down. So I'm actually surprised.
I think so too.
I'm actually surprised how long some of these portals and lower tier games have stayed up, including a lot of Webzen's games, to be honest. So I think we're going to see more of this.
Yeah, there's no reason to have this many games. I think, and the remarkable thing is we keep even as games shut down, like this week, we've heard the shutdown of no more development for Dirty Bomb. Hyper Universe is shutting down. These aren't really MMORPGs, right? But there are still more of these free to play games launching than shutting down. So the size of the market isn't really growing that much. Maybe like low single digits, very little bit of growth. But you get so many games are still coming out, and it's further dividing up the player base. So I think we need a healthy reset. I think for a lot of these older games, like for example, it's really unfortunate that some of these games didn't really catch on, and they just got to shut them down. Like if you look at on Steam charts, there's Critic Online, right?
Yep.
It's got a small audience, right? But the game, they keep launching updates for it. It's not like this game is being ignored by the developer, right? I know InMass has launched a big update just this last week. The game is averaging 250 players online, and that number has been going down literally every single month since release. 250 players is not terrible, but the problem is you have so many games like Critica. Critica is not a I don't think it's a great game, but it's not awful either. But you have so many other games like Critica. You have Closers as well, which also isn't doing very well. Closers is averaging looks like 470 players, but that's also down from over 1,000 just earlier this year. And then you have Soul Worker. These are essentially all the same game. If you played Soul Worker, or you played Closers, you played Critica, it's really the same concept of game. Soul Worker, out of that bunch, Soul Worker is doing by far the best, averaging at 954 players. So it still has a bit of a player base, but even, it doesn't do, I think, anyone justice to have the player base for these action MMORPGs, these instance action MMORPGs with linear stories and missions. They just have so many titles. Just have all of them in one game, which would be better for everyone. Obviously, they're still different games, but instead of having 3 failing games, I'd rather have 1 thriving game. And these games are so similar too. It's not like they're so radically different. They follow the same formula.
Yep. There are way too many. Again, I am curious what Trion, what Gamigo will shut down, and what they will keep from Trion's list there.
Well, I mean, I bet you anything they're going to shut down. 100% they're going to shut down Atlas Reactor. There's no way. The player base just isn't there for Atlas Reactor. 150 players is nothing. And of that, they'll keep Rift, I think, because Rift Prime is doing pretty well. Rift Prime is their, the good old progression service. I think Defiance 2050 is still a little early for them to call it on that one. Plus, I think it's doing well on consoles. Trove is probably their best performing game. And Arcade's also, since they launched their progression server, is doing pretty well. So the only games that are really on the chopping block, I think, would be Defiance 2050 and Atlas Reactor. But most certainly, Atlas Reactor is going down.
Well, people have been mentioning Bless in chat, and Bless, Amar, I don't know if you know, is at 3,200 players at the moment, and the reason for that is because today it went free to play, so it's out of early access and free to play right now.
Can you believe though the player base like a week before the free to play launch, it was averaging like 200 players. So it went from like a launch day peak of 34,000 to averaging 200 players like a week before the free to play launch. And I'm confident all these free to play users are all going to be gone. There's no reason to stay around. I mean, we've talked a lot of shit about Bless. But I can talk shit about Bless all day. But it's an atrocious game. The game just doesn't run. It's so mediocre. All these free to play users, it should have been free to play from the get go. But then they promised they fixed it, but they didn't. So it's they're all going to quit. And everyone's kind of. I think honestly, it's almost like a spectacle right now. Everyone knows this game is ass, right? Mm-hmm. If you see every video showing up like, on their official YouTube channel, right, announcing new updates is downvoted to oblivion. It's like 15 likes and like 900 downvotes. It's like one of the most skewed ratios of upvotes to downvotes I've seen on YouTube. So every time they release a video showing what they're going to do next, it just destroyed, and everyone talks shit about the game. This is one of the most universally hated games right now. So they're all going to quit.
It is surprising just how much of a disaster it is. And another thing that came out this week, I think, is a trailer for character creation in Bless Mobile.
Yes, that video got destroyed too. If you want to show that?
I'm gonna show the video, but you know what the funny part of this video is? So so we all heard about Bless Unleashed, right? Which is like the console version that's coming out. Mm-hmm. That's gonna be Unreal 4. But the funny part is, even the mobile version of Bless coming out is Unreal 4. So they could give the mobile version Unreal 4, but they couldn't give it to PC players. What a slap in the face.
It's a scam. I don't know. I think they wanted to make they developed a shit game that failed in South. This is their mentality. They developed a shit game that didn't go anywhere in South Korea or even like Russia where they tried launching. Right, it was utter shit, and they wanted to get some money back. Right, and like maybe we can make an Unreal Engine 4 version. Like, oh no, they'll take all this time to develop, and they figure, okay, if we develop the Unreal Engine 4 version, should we make it for PC consoles? What do we make it for? And they wanted to only make it for consoles to save time on development. Okay, then what do we do with this Unreal 3 version? Let's just peddle it off to the Americans, in Europe as a buy-to-play game. And they just scammed the Europeans and Americans on the PC version. And they don't give a shit because they figured they're going to really, try with the console version. So maybe the console version has a chance, but they just wanted to scam the PC version. And it's really weird because they're kind of referring to as their franchise of Bless, right? If you look at the investor presentations for WebZen, they're a publicly traded company. They talk about their strong brands, right? And they talk about Mu Online as being a very strong franchise. They mentioned Bless, right? This franchise. Bless is not a franchise. Bless is it's poison shit. Okay, they should just change the name of this mobile game immediately. Calling it Bless Mobile. What's it called? What's the game called?
Which one?
It's not Unleashed, right?
Bless
the mobile
Unleashed?
game?
Oh, no, it's called Bless Mobile.
Bless Mobile, whatever it's called, right? Bless Mobile should just change its name to literally anything. If you associate Bless with it, it's literally like tainting your game. It's got like the worst brand possible. They should just change the name and pretend it has nothing to do with Bless. Putting the word Bless on it is gonna make everyone avoid it because it's a piece of shit. So I don't understand why they are pretending like Bless their franchise.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the amount of games they're releasing under the name is kind of impressive. They're really pushing on despite the utter failure. Remember, Bless has been in development now for what? Since like 2010 or something. And then how much did they burn on it? Like 80 million.
Over 60 million.
So
dollars.
It is insane what they're trying to do with this game. I haven't seen a colossal disaster of this epic proportions in a while. Yeah,
it's really bad. So I mean, they're trying to get some of their money back, but change the name. They have a chance then. But I don't think anyone is excited for this. I mean, that character creator, right? It didn't look terrible, right? But like, the problem is, when you compare that to something like when you compare that to Black Desert Mobile just looks way better, like leagues better. So who are they appealing to? Like either Like if you're gonna show off a cool character creator, but you can't one up like the biggest mobile game, like mobile MMORPG, like I don't know, it's a disappointment at that point, you know.
Yep. And speaking of disappointments, we had a few more screenshots of a game you probably forgot is in development, Air, which is what's it called? Ascent Infinite Realm. That's right. We got some screenshots, and this is by Bluehole, the guys behind Terra and PUBG. And the screenshots look nice, but there's a huge glaring issue with this game, and it's also going to use Unreal 3, which is unacceptable at this point, I think.
Yeah,
it's gonna. Even the trailer for this game was like laggy. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was actually one of the worst things. Seeing a trailer with this FPS stutter, it tells me it's going to be Bless like 2.0 again. We're going to have the same experience that Bless had, where like the game is going to run so poorly. And people in the chat realize it too. Oxrath's Air will be the same as Bless and +1 from Amori. I mean, it's obvious when your game is built on an old engine and your own official trailer where you're trying to show off the best content is showing FPS lag. Like what the fuck? Like the optimization, like it's just going to run like ass. And for that, and I don't know. I feel like showing off like screenshots. Are they really trying to build hype by showing screenshots? Is this 1999? Like, are we supposed to be looking at our gaming magazines and seeing screenshots and getting hype? I don't know. Screenshots don't really drive hype anymore. You know, you have to show off like interesting videos that are non-laggy to get hype. And after Bless, I think Ascent Infinite Realm is going to be another Bless basically. I cannot believe they're going to make the same mistake. But at this point, they probably already committed sunk cost fallacy. They've already spent so much money making this game. They're going to release as is.
Yeah, I think so. But they did delay it, so it won't be coming out in beta this year, which some people are speculating it's because they're going to upgrade the engine, right, to Unreal 4. I think that's a little bit of hopeful thinking. I don't think they're going to do that.
I mean, they should, or they should make sure it runs well.
They should, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're just going to ship what they have and just hope for the best.
Yeah, I think that's there's a strategy right now too.
Remember, Bluehole, and people are saying, oh well, you know, Bluehole has all this money now from PUBG, right? So they're gonna do right now. Take their time, make it work properly when it comes out. They learned their lesson. I don't think so. Look at PUBG. It's a mess. Like look at this company's history. What makes you think they learned any kind of lesson? I don't get that. First of all, if you look at PUBG's
Terra doesn't even run well yet. Come on, yeah. Terra's still one of the laggier games.
Yeah, people still complain about Terra. I give it a pass only because it's so old. I don't expect a full rehaul of such an old game. But so I am amazed every time I look at this Steam chart for PUBG. Talk about squandering dumb luck. So if you look at just this year, PUBG peaked of January 2018. Okay, average players was 1.58 million, with a peak concurrent of 3.2 million. Okay, and every single month this year since January, they've lost nearly every month double-digit player base. So we went from 1.5 average players at the beginning of this year to the last 30 days below 500,000.
That's insane.
How do you lose, 2/3 of your player base in 9 months?
Well, I mean, I think somebody in chat said it was dumb luck with the success of PUBG. And I think it really is because it was really one of the first standalone battle royale games, right? And it was. What made it really special was it was a standalone battle royale game, and it was really the only one out at the time, right? So you could charge money for it, and it could be a laggy piece of shit. It didn't matter, right? I mean, if you played PUBG in beta, which I did, and you played it during the first few months it released, which I played quite a bit of. I have over 200 hours in PUBG. It ran like ass. It's one of those games that like this game is kind of fun, but the second a better game comes out that does the same thing, I'm gonna switch, right? And that kind of happened with Fortnite to a degree. I mean, obviously it's still different style, not exactly the same kind of game, but like they had every advantage over like any other battle royale game, and it was just the game just ran like ass, and the game just crashed all the time and bugs, and it drove a lot of players away, and all the cheating in the game too obviously was a big turnoff.
So again, yeah, you're right, but my point is, so given the success of this game, which by the way is buy to play, it's not free to play, so and obviously it sold like over 50 million copies. So with all that money in this time, it's been 9 months. If they couldn't optimize this game, what makes people think they're gonna optimize Air? Like they're just not going to. I think they're gonna release what they have and then hope for the best.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately I have almost no hype for Air. I know it's gonna run like honestly, if the game runs well, I'll be so surprised. But what's remarkable is like I remember when Unreal do you remember when Area Games and like OG Planet were launching random ass Unreal Engine 3 MMORPGs, like these random 3D games? Even what's that Nexon game that we played with? You collect a lot of monsters. You got the level 20 in it. When it was the max level? What was it called?
Nexon game where you collect monsters.
Yeah, you got the max level. Max level was 20 at launch, right? So you got the max level pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, they're still running. Riders of Icarus.
Yeah, Riders of Icarus, right? That game runs on Unreal Engine 3, and it didn't run nearly as ass as Bless. So Blast was trying to have all these open world areas, which I think made it like really, really ass, and it was probably poorly honestly, I think a lot of it comes down to like really bad programming. Because I remember if you look at the number of files in the Blast folder, which is pretty insane, right? You just right click the folder and click properties. In the Blast folder, there's like 80,000 files, which is insane. Why would you need 80,000 files in a single folder? Like most games, most like logical games, which aren't retarded, they compress files. They have one file with like everything you need in it, right? Or they try to combine files for efficiency's sake, because like you can have a ton of files and it's not usually a big deal, but every time you want to open or access a different file is more loading your computer has to do in a very weird way. And I think maybe a good way to illustrate this is almost like when you run an antivirus, for example, or anti-spyware, it checks every file individually. And sometimes when you load a game, you got to load every file individually too. And just combining files makes a lot of sense. If you look at the folder for literally any game you have on your PC today, it's not going to be that big. I know Final Fantasy 14's got like 200 files in their folder, whereas you have like over 50,000 with Blast, which makes no sense. So it was just really, really dumb like logic. And in fact, there's so many files there that do absolutely nothing. Because I was actually looking around the files in Blast. They were like these configuration files, right? And there's like these stock files for FPS games. It's like the control schemes are like WSAD, change weapon, reload, and these are in the Blast folder. There's hotkeys for an FPS game in the Blast folder today, and you can change them if you want to like, change your settings, right? But they do nothing in the game because those files aren't even being used. So there are literally like thousands of files that are unrelated to Blast. It makes no sense. It shows you that they're so incompetent over at NeoWiz, and like they have no idea how to like work with this engine. It was a hot mess. I'm hoping at least maybe the folks at Bluehole have a better idea, but knowing how laggy Terra has been all these years and poorly optimized, I suspect we're gonna get a lot of the same.
Here's a pro tip, guys. If you want to know if a game was developed by competent coders and developers, okay? So download a game like Blast, install on Steam, whatever, and then go to uninstall like League of Legends, okay? Uninstall League of Legends. It will take you like a few seconds, okay?
Yeah.
Now uninstall a shitty game, whatever, Blast or any game that you think is crap, right? But it's relatively new, so it's got to be large in size. It will take minutes to uninstall, and that is your sign that it's a shitty game.
The longer it takes to uninstall, the shittier the game.
That's Altai's law.
Altai's law. I mean, the thing is, they did scam a lot of people, but I think a lot of people got refunds too. The crazy thing about Bless is, it's one of the few games that like got unconditional refunds on Steam. Like, no matter what, if you ask for a refund, you got one. Kuma Shogun, thank you for that Twitch Prime sub. Much love. Testing a game with an uninstall, that's a new. There you go. That's how you test the game, according to Altai.
I'm telling you guys, try it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what do we got next?
What do we got next, Altai? I got I was looking at our homepage again. It came by earlier. I think it was Gumby's article from a while ago. I forgot the shower playing Battle for Azeroth. I do think it was a really great read, by the way. So anyone that's got any sucked into a game should check out that read. But I think anyone who dares call themselves a hardcore gamer has to be able to say that they forgot to shower for at least a week. Thoughts?
Forgot to shower. Yeah. I think it does that to you if you really get in the groove. And I haven't gotten that groove in a long time. Battle for Azeroth did it for like 6 weeks for me, but that's it.
My burnt toast is showering is for normies. Listen, you're addicted to a game when you play without showering. All right. A week is too much. I don't know. I think a week is doable if you're really into a game, and you really kind of forget too, because like I know when I'm like in the zone, I'm literally playing like 18 hours. And like after an 18-hour session, and you only took a break to like take a piss and eat, get a snack or something, like after an 18-hour session, like you're just too tired. Like if you have energy to take a shower, if you have energy to fap, you clearly weren't in the game. Your mind was not focused. All right. I've got like.
This gives me. By the way, you just proved my point in the pregame, but we can get to that in the postgame.
Okay, so like I remember when I was playing Final Fantasy 14 with the new content, right? I was playing like all the first week I played nonstop, right? Literally like 10 over 15 hours a day, right? So, not only did I not shower for that first week, but I've been showering since, obviously. But not only did I not shower for that first week, I didn't fap. I didn't even think about fapping. I had no energy to fap. All my energy went towards, the game.
Now here's a question: had you fapped, you'd be worse at the game.
Maybe.
See?
So can you take a shower after you wake up? Yet, Pocky, I don't think you understand the mentality. When you're hooked, the second you get up, you don't even take a piss. You go on the computer. All right, that's what you do, and you set up your party, and while your party fills up, then you take a piss, and you go back, and you do your like get snacks. There's no time to take a shower, all right? Your mind is focused.
You know what the best feeling is? when you're in a raid with like 20 people, 30 people,
Right.
and everyone's ready to pull, and then they do the ready check, and you say, "All right, I gotta pee and get a drink. 1 sec." Now you got 30 people waiting on you.
You feel alpha as fuck, right?
Where
Alpha,
else
keeping
in
those guys
life
waiting?
can you do that? You know?
Where else in life can you inconvenience 30 people at once? Good
Yes.
question, Alpha. Impressive.
Yeah, it's
Look,
a nice little power trip for me.
Yeah, keep saying BRB, taking a piss and getting a drink, making people waste a power trip.
Well, again, someone said time to slash kick, but I played priest, and usually in a 20-man there's only like 4 healers, and they're slightly harder to replace obviously because of that than like DPS. So they wouldn't really kick me unless I've gone for like 10, 15 minutes. So it was a good feeling.
I think one of the best feelings, for me at least, when I join a random group or I make a group and people are like, oh shit, that's Rimote. He's like the fucking best black mage. When I see them, like, yeah, I left an impression. Fuck yeah, feels good. That's like a nice like ego thing that I really like when somebody recognizes like, damn, that guy's really good. You ever get that Altai in World of Warcraft?
They didn't say specifically like, oh, there's Miri or Amy or whatever, the best healer. But I had people add me after like a raid pug that I was leading, and they're like, oh, when are you doing it again? Like, I want to join. Let me know. I got that a few times because obviously, here's the thing too. You kind of learn how easy these games are, even the hardest difficulty content, right?
Yeah.
When we were kids, right, in middle school, like even WoW for me as a middle schooler was like challenging, right? I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't looking at guides. Everything was like blindsiding me. But when I at this age when I play WoW, even when the classic comes out, I suspect it's gonna be a lot easier, only because I'm actually an adult now. So I'm like, okay, what happened here? Why did we wipe? This is what happened. Now we do this and we win, right? But as a kid, you're like, "Wow, what's going on?" And you just die. So the content got a lot easier only because I think we got older.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So you think like
I'll clear MC much quicker this time than we did back then, when Classic comes out.
Interesting. No, I think there's a pretty strict gear check in Vanilla WoW where in order to even clear something, you have to keep raiding for a while and get enough loot to be able to even like start beating the next boss because there aren't really a lot of mechanics in those fights. There's a lot of gear check.
Well, then I'll give you an example in Battle for Azeroth. So when I did a pug, I required everyone to be on Discord with me, right? And and every fight before we pulled, I would go over the fight, even if it's a fight that I did already, in case anyone there didn't know the fight and I was too afraid or too shy to say. A lot of times I've noticed pugs will say, "Does anyone know the fight? Does everyone know the fight? If you don't know, let us know." And nobody would say anything because they were too afraid to be like the one guy who says, "Oh, I haven't done it before," So I would just go through every fight, and we just we breezed the whole thing.
That's actually a pretty good idea, and I feel like I see the benefit of that a lot. But I'm usually the guy that asks if you're not comfortable, just say something so I can explain it to you, right? Like I'll say it in chat.
That works. That works if you have 7 other people you're working with. It doesn't work with 30 other people because you're always gonna have
7. It doesn't work.
Well, yeah, even with 7 doesn't work. But I mean, I don't blame him. Imagine like I'm trying to get into a party, right? And then the guy was, "Do you know the fights?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." Even though I don't, just to get into the group. And once I'm in, I'm like, "Ooh, I'm in," like, and then I just go with the flow. So you gotta just go through the fights. You gotta go over the fights.
I remember I was doing this fight for like 14 hours straight one day. This one fight, right? And basically in the middle of the fight, the boss targets one player to do like a special mechanic, right? So only one person has to do it, right? And it's 1 in 8, 1 in random who gets the mechanic, right? And I'm like, okay, everyone, if you get targeted with this mechanic, do you know what to do? Everyone's like, yeah, no problem, you got it, right? And of course, what happened was like, one time it targeted this like our bard or something, right? And when the bard had the mechanic, they had no idea what to do, and like they're just running around completely confused. They killed everyone, right? I'm like, what the fuck, dude? You said you knew what to do. He's like, XD, I never got it before, lol. I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, why don't you say anything? You just literally set us back 20 minutes of wasting our time. And that happens all the time.
Of course, because if you're that guy, you don't want to get kicked, And he doesn't know.
I wouldn't kick the guy.
How does he know? How does he know that when you ask the question, okay, does everyone know the fight? If you don't, let me know. How does he know that when you say I haven't done it before, you're not gonna get insta kicked?
We were already in the fight, okay, when I asked that question, technically. It was just one part of the fight, and he just banged on he never gets that mechanic. And if he gets that mechanic, we're all going to fucking wipe, apparently. I mean, I'd rather him just say he doesn't know it, and then I can explain so simply. But I see the benefit of if you're on voice chat with these people, you can explain very clearly to everyone what to do.
Yeah.
And that's a really nice benefit.
Yeah.
And I actually think, it'd be really cool, actually. I know, I'm pretty sure World of Warcraft has built-in voice chat, right, when you're in your party?
Yeah.
That's really good, I think, because Final Fantasy 14 doesn't have that. And I mean, sometimes game people on Discord is like they can't do it, like they're just too lazy. But if they can like just mute themselves in game and hear it with audio,
that's another good check, though. By the way, there are people who will say, "I can't get on Discord." I don't want, like, I'm like, why? It's free. And then whatever they give excuses, I just kick them because these people are worthless to me. If you can't do 2 seconds of work on your end, right?
Alpha, you would kick me.
I would kick you.
I've joined lots of groups that say this, like join Discord. I'm like, no, I'm not joining.
I kick you.
I'm like,
I move
I'll
on.
be like, I'll be like, listen, I know the fight. I'm not gonna mess up at all. No, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want you to distract me.
I've had exceptions only when their gear score was high. So it's eye level in WoW.
But they would look up my logs probably and see that I'm actually really good. I hope.
Can they view? Is there like a number they can view on your profile in game?
No, in game, they can see what gear I have. That means I beat certain bosses, but they won't know like my performance.
The good thing in WoW is, especially with add-ons, I can look at your profile in game and it will tell me every dungeon you've done, how quickly you've cleared it, whether you cleared it or not, what difficulty you cleared it on, and it will aggregate a score. It give you like a score, like A+, B+, or whatever. So if there's someone who's if very high, one time a rogue didn't want to join Discord for whatever reason, and he was like substantially better than me in score. So I let him in. I'm like, whatever, don't worry about it. But if he was my level, or even a little higher, I would have kicked him.
That actually reminds me of a really good idea. If somebody can make a mod for Final Fantasy 14 that shows everyone their FF logs, they're basically their numeric performance score on fights in their profile. So you can right click on someone, see their profile, and like the mod would just overlay. They would search their name on the website and just overlay the score. If anybody can make a mod like that, I would use that, and that would be great. Obviously, if you mention it, though, you'd get banned because the game is very strict about that nonsense.
Yeah. So anyway, that helped me a lot too. The fact that when you're an adult, you're willing to communicate more. I remember me as a kid in EverQuest or WoW, even vanilla WoW. I was not willing to ask for help or look at look for guides or whatever. Talk. I remember in WoW, I didn't talk in voice, even though I had a mic. I don't know why. I was a little kid. I guess I was afraid. I don't know. But now,
have you done any of the really hard stuff in WoW before you quit, or no?
Just one mythic boss. That's it.
I actually would have loved to see you struggle to do like some really hard content, because it's I think it's quite like it's fun. It's quite a little trip to be able to spend 4 or 5 a week, 6-7 days, 10 hours plus a day on one fight, literally all day. Have you done that in any of the WoW fights you've done?
A couple hours. Not my days.
A couple hours. That's a casual norm.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. In WoW, at least, because you need 20 people exactly to do this. It's again, even with the mechanics.
Yeah, it's harder. Yeah.
It's a social check, which I like actually more than a technical check. So, for example, I don't think you could have even done the WoW content only because you couldn't have. Done the social checks, maybe? Your thing about not being in Discord wouldn't fly in WoW. You just wouldn't get into a guild. That's it. You could never do Mythic.
Yeah, I
Nobody
get
would
that
invite
too.
you.
I think in World of Warcraft I'd be more willing to be on Discord with strangers, because I typically don't like joining Discord with strangers. I don't know, it's just weird.
Yeah, you're a little
I
pussy.
can handle myself there. I just don't want to, because I just
Why?
one, it's distracting. I'm kind of a parser. I'm trying to actually min max, and
Oh,
in order to min max.
Everyone in the Mythic is also. If you just chatter up like, "Hey guys, what are you doing today?" They're gonna mute you or kick you.
Well, obviously, but
Yeah.
even some random asshole calling off mechanics isn't helping me. It's actually distracting, because I've memorized these fights that I'm in usually.
Oh, maybe. And there's another thing in WoW that I don't think exists in Final Fantasy, which is why WoW is better. There's no one way to do a fight. So every guild has its own little pet way of doing it. So it's not
That's pretty cool too. I like when fights actually have multiple ways of doing it.
Exactly.
That's actually a really good design decision.
Yeah. So actually, I think if a group content can be done without voice, it's not good group content in my opinion, because all that means is it's very rigid and individual. So if everyone does their little piece, the fact you have to require communication, or else it's not a multiplayer game. It's just like everyone playing a single player game together.
Yeah, I see what you mean, but it's tough. I see what you mean, but I would like to see more creative and more interesting fights in MMORPGs. Are there any mechanics?
Dynamic. That's what we need.
Are there any mechanics in World of Warcraft that are silly? I know there's there's a fight in Final Fantasy 14 where I'm talking just purely from a design perspective. I think it's interesting, right? There's a fight where you just literally do DDR. There's 8 circles in the ground, and one player just sit on each one, right? And then all of a sudden, there's an arrow appears, and you gotta be facing the direction of the arrow, and it starts moving faster and faster. So you have to quickly turn your camera angle. Every time you miss one, if the group misses too many, it's insta wipe, right? It's not a hard mechanic, but it is interesting that it's a mechanic in the fight where you just literally 8 people are kind of doing this basic DDR mechanic. Is anything silly like that in World of Warcraft?
Not that I saw, but there is a lot of silly stuff that's not part of the original design. So here's what I mean. I might have told the story, but it's It's my best. Here's my best World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth story. Here we go. So I'm in a pickup group for the Uldir raid on heroic. So it's not mythic, but it's still relatively-ish hard, especially the first month. And we're on a pull. And what this one guy keeps doing is he waits till we're moving as a group, right? Then he stands on the edge of like the area. Then he has an item he has, okay, to switch positions with another player. So he'll switch positions with a player, usually like the main tank, right? When the tank is like, okay, I'm pulling, and the tank is running towards the boss, he'll switch positions with the tank, and since the tank is already moving, he'll continue moving off the cliff, because the other player was at the cliff when he on the edge. Position. So he'll fall and die, and then he would just randomly do this random people throughout the pull. And as we kept wiping on this boss, the main the main raid organizer kept getting angrier and angrier, and we're all on voice, 30 people on voice. Like, who did that? Which of you did that? And then one guy's like, I think it was this guy, and the guy's like, and then they kicked him, right? And he's on voice. He goes, yeah, way to kick your top healer just because this guy accused me. It wasn't me. I'm like, oh, sorry. They reinvited him. So then we kept wiping, and he did it again and again and again, right? And this guy was just reeing on voice. And the whole group fell apart, right? At the end, we couldn't clear the boss. And then the guy on chat is like, yeah, it was me the whole time.
The guy they kicked, right?
Yeah, the guy they kicked originally.
Oh, no. He smooth talked his way back in.
And I
actually love little things like that.
Yeah, it was so good.
It's actually, I think it's really remarkable for World of Warcraft to have like fun items that do that, right? A lot of the engineering items do cool shit like that, where you can like be invisible, swap positions. It's like, it's very memey and like completely like troll. Like, I don't know. I think little things like that is what makes an MMORPG an MMORPG. You know, like, I mean, obviously it was a frustrating experience, right, to a degree, but like it was a very memorable experience for everyone, you know.
Oh yeah.
And the whole point of these games, you know, is to ultimately walk away with some kind of memorable experiences. And obviously, this is not gonna be the end of the world. This guy got like slightly frustrated, but like, it's really cool they design those into the game. I kind of wish Final Fantasy 14 did stuff like that, and just more games in general had more fun items like that.
And it was so fun. It was so cool that I stayed on chat with him in the Discord channel after most people left. It was me, him, and like 5 other people, and he was giving us a troll lesson in WoW. So he told us a really good troll thing. You can buy potions of invisibility, right? So he says what you do is you drink the potion of invisibility, you walk up to the boss in any raid. Then if there's anyone you want to get kicked from the group, right? What you do is you're invisible, so the boss won't aggro you. You switch positions with a random person you want to get kicked, and obviously as soon as you switch positions, he will aggro the boss because he's not invisible, and then he'll wipe the group because everyone's not ready, and then you will say on voice, "This guy who pulled, this guy did. I was watching." He will have no clue what happened. Like what?
He probably might even think he pulled.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't know.
On his screen, he appeared in front of the boss. Maybe he didn't realize. He just kind of brain farted, and he might be like, "Oh, sorry guys," and take responsibility.
Yeah. So that guy taught me a whole bunch of cool troll lessons.
I wish Final Fantasy had more stuff like that. It would have been great. But we got nothing like that, unfortunately. No fun items, no teleporters, no memes. Feels bad.
All right, what else I got? Oh, I got a cool story. All right, so
Yeah,
remember what? All right, so what is an MMORPG we played that was older than Ultima Online by 1 year?
By 1 year, Nexus Kingdom of the Winds.
Yeah,
you played that. Oh, really? It's actually what you're talking about. Cool.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. They're making a mobile version.
Really? NexusTK.
Yep, it's gonna go by the Korean name, which is Barum Yeon.
Now, real talk. Anyone in the chat, anyone on Twitch chat, have any idea what Nexus Kingdom of the Winds was? This was like old as fuck. This was like one of the first MMORPGs my brother and I played. Like this was, and the thing is, this game, it was a monthly subscription, but the first 10 levels were free, and we both had characters on the first 10 levels that we just played forever, but we could never level past that because our parents wouldn't pay for a subscription.
We did subscribe for 1 month though. I don't know if you remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a 2D game, Xiaolin. I've played it back then. Awesome. I'm glad we're not the only ones. Zemi has played it.
Really? I'm surprised.
That is an old game. It was really fun though. It was weird.
It was definitely weird. Let me show you guys some gameplay of this game, right? And this game was actually by Nexon, back in the day.
Yeah, it's one of the first Nexon titles actually, and people don't know that because I think they spun off from Nexon later.
Yeah.
Damn, look at this hype trailer, boys.
Was it like Tibia? Yeah, Tibia's a really good example of what kind of game it was.
Y'all are old. Can't compete with us young bucks. Look at that text. Do you see that text on the screen for Mage? Whoa, look at the font, the Warrior, the Mage. They're rocking. They were the first ones to get Microsoft Word 95 to bust out the text over there. Whew, look at that word art. Quality memes. In this video, the guy's just killing wildlife. There's like some zebras, some tigers. That was back before they could design monsters. You're just killing wildlife.
Well, even today in MMOs, you kill wildlife for a long time.
I know. I love intense player involvement. I remember like our grind path in this game. We killed so many of these nine-tailed foxes. They were like our grind spot. This game was mega fun back in the day. That's some intense shit right there. Fit Forever. So why does it excite me more than games these days? Honestly, there's something magical about these older games. I don't know what it is, but there's like, especially 2D games, whether it's Tibia, whether it's Nexus, Kingdom of the Winds, or even MapleStory. There's something about like progression and grinding in these games that just feels different than a 3D game. For me, it oddly, very often it feels more satisfying to like grind in a 2D game than a 3D game. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something special about these 2D games. And maybe I don't know.
I think one of the reasons why these games were so much more exciting and interesting back then is because each one had the potential to be so different from the next game. Because every single one was developed, just from the ground up, right? Where today, if you play an Unreal shooter, right, and then you play 10 other Unreal Engine shooters, they're all gonna play the exact same. The only thing that's gonna be different,
very similar, yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that's gonna be different is maybe the gravity setting, right, or like the sci-fi setting or fantasy setting. But they're gonna be identical games, pretty much.
How the spray patterns work, how like recoil works, some very subtle differences, and it's kind of weird. Yeah, you're right.
And even with MMORPGs, with so many MMORPGs today on Unreal or Unity or whatever, like they all pretty much feel the same. Not just because they're all fantasy, you can still be different if you're fantasy, but they all feel the same because they're literally all built on the same engine. All the core, mechanics, the way movement works, the way like the camera works is all the same.
Yeah, Josh mentioned Lawtail. I had a lot of fun with that as well because I loved MapleStory back in the day. Just Lawtail was a fun way to play another MapleStory alternative. I think one reason too is that like a lot of MMORPGs today have this very generic 3D look to them, right? And I feel like when you make a game like 3D as well, I feel like a lot of resources go towards like making these maps, making like the character models. When you make a 2D game like NexusTK, the one we're seeing in the background, I feel like more emphasis can be put on gameplay and progression. And that kind of ends up showing for like the players kind of feel the depth through the gameplay. Because just adding more zones, I don't know, it's weird. Like when they add a new zone to a game, I don't really get excited. Because the zone's always kind of like some background shit to me, right? I don't really care. It's the gameplay I get through that zone or exploring that zone or getting new levels, new skills is fun. I think that kind of shines through a bit more on a 2D game, if that makes any sense. I feel like there's more emphasis on actual gameplay because the visuals aren't really in the way too much.
Yeah, I don't know.
So they're making a mobile version of this, right?
Yeah, and I think this game is uniquely well suited for mobile because, again, back then especially, the gameplay was pretty simple. You basically walk up to enemies, you put your cursor, which was a square, on top of them to target them, and then you just cast your ability over and over again. That was it. There was no like moving and attacking or anything.
No, I feel like there's something fun in like the concept. Just like I don't know. I feel like we lost so much in MMORPGs. Like I just feel like if I can play a game where it's a little bit grindy and I can just keep getting progressively stronger and stronger and I can feel that progression and I feel rewarded for it, I have a lot of fun. I feel like almost through all these new shiny MMORPGs, we kind of lost the basic formula which makes MMORPGs fun. And we've lost it, I think, very much because a lot of MMORPGs feel like more a collection simulator than a game. Everything just feels easy and there's no motivation to get stronger. I don't know. Even if I play NexusTK today again for the first time, I feel like I'll have fun because killing an enemy. Bit of a side note over here, but you remember like a lot of old games did this, and some new games still do it. Where like you're in the newbie zone, right? And then you took a wrong turn. You go to the different map, right? You go to the map like to the east of town instead of to the north of town or west of town. And there's like these level 75 bandits that one shot you, right? It's always a weird feeling, but you're always like, I want to kill those fucking bandits. They killed me when I was level 1. Like I wonder what it was like to kill those bandits. And like you train, you grind, and you go back and you kill those bandits, and it feels good. It feels satisfying, right? But like, I don't have that itch to get stronger in a lot of MMORPGs these days because at no point in the game did I feel challenged. At no point did I want to get stronger. Because I'm MapleStory 2, I've been playing, for example. Like, at no point in MapleStory 2 did I feel like, oh, I can't wait to get stronger, right? In MapleStory 2 all day, for example, like, how often did you just not spend your skill points or your stat points? I like to build up for like 8 levels at a time. Yeah. Like, why should I even bother using my skill points? It doesn't matter. Or my stat points, who cares? It didn't matter. Yeah. But in MapleStory 1, the second you level up, guess what, boys? We're hitting the skill points and stat points right away. Because you didn't have the luxury of saving that. You had to use it to level faster. But in MapleStory 2, you level by questing anyway, and the quests are just easy anyway. So you just hold on to your skill points. You don't want to think about it. And the game has infinite skill resets, which are great. I love the fact that the game isn't monetizing the skill resets. But even with skill resets, I just didn't bother spending my skill points or even my stat points because I didn't care.
The key word, I think, is pacing. Pacing is so important to give a game context and meaning. For example, MapleStory, after the first few levels, my brain, I think we said it last week, my brain didn't care about the zones I was traveling through, the monsters I was fighting, the quests I were doing, the NPCs I was interacting with, because my brain knew that we were progressing levels so quickly that I would never have to go back here, talk to these people again. I would never have to see these NPCs again or these monsters again. So none of it mattered. Whereas in a game where you're going to spend, a week at level between 10 and 20, 20 and 30, 30 and 40, each, bracket of 10 levels, you're going to spend at least a week there in that zone, in that region. You get to know the zones, you get to know the grind spots, you get to know the NPCs, you get to know the other players there. Mm-hmm. But when everything is so quick, not only is it quick, but you actually care less because you know it's going to be forgettable. Like, you just don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't stick.
And I mean, I loved the music and stuff in MapleStory too, but I just couldn't, again, feel attached to the worlds. I know someone criticized us in our last podcast saying that we were shitting on MapleStory 2, which I think we weren't, because there's a lot about MapleStory 2 I really do like. But some of the core gameplay mechanics I think are the weakest in MapleStory 2 versus everything else. I think MapleStory 2 shines outside of its core gameplay mechanics. The core gameplay is actually, I think, very meh or very generic, right? It's not particularly bad, but it's not particularly good either. So it's very much in the middle ground there, but it kind of shines with everything else it does. So there's a lot of positives to say about that, but I think the core gameplay needs a lot of work, and it's very shallow. And again, what really I think brings this point back home, again, when we were playing EverQuest 1 and we were trying to go through Western Kirana, and it's nighttime, our heart would be racing as we were trying to make it to safety of Highkeep. We're trying to get to one town to another town, and at nighttime you get ambushed by a werewolf. There was a high-level mob that patrolled the area that would actually kill newbies all the time. Or a hill giant would walk up to you and smash you and kill you. There was a sense of danger and dread because you knew if you died, you lost an hour and a half worth of grinding and a giant hassle of trying to get your corpse back, which because you respawn with no gear, you have to get back to your body. If you get attacked by gnolls and shit, you might die. It was heart racing. It was intense. Just every little thing just had more meaning because of that.
Yep. And even in MapleStory 1, death was a 10% hit on experience, right?
Yeah, it was something crazy. And you lose hours of grind.
Yeah, that was significant. You had to. When I got hit in MapleStory, I had a rule in MapleStory. I didn't let my health go below half percent. Right. I spent the potions, but in MapleStory 2, I don't even look at my health. Sometimes I die and I'm watching a YouTube video. I'm oh, it looks like I'm dead. All right, whatever. I just click the res.
You don't lose anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not even looking at the game half the time. I'm looking at YouTube while I'm playing on my other monitor. So there's not that sense of involvement.
Yeah, I just feel like a lot of those old school vibes on gameplay are lost. But again, and the point isn't to say oh, the games were just better back then. I think there's some benefit to the casual elements too, but I think you need a happy medium to be able to capture a bit of both. I don't think the experience should be so difficult for casual players not to be able to enjoy a game. A lot of the casual players make up the bulk of the player base, right? It makes some easy fodder content for them too. But I just feel the hardcore players are the ones that play for 10 hours a day, and I think you need those as well.
Yeah, and like you said, I think a happy medium is required. So I think MapleStory, for example, the old grind that we played was too bad. That was too slow, right? But they went too far in the other direction. Now,
honestly, even the direction they went with Big Bang, right, where you can get level 150 in literally one day of pretty hardcore play. I think that's even a fair happy medium because it's after that it really slows down. Yes, it's fast. It's fast. But even that I felt was more enjoyable. Just the core gameplay grinding part was more enjoyable than MapleStory 2.
That's more enjoyable for you because you kind of remember MapleStory 1. Mm-hmm. If you were a new player to MapleStory 1 today, and
it might be confusing with how fast
you wouldn't know how quickly to change zones. You wouldn't know what to do, what to level. I feel like you should, in MapleStory 1, if you got to level let's say 30 in the let's say it take 10 hours to get to level 30, that would be perfect, I think, because you would have enough time to learn your class, learn your abilities, learn the maps. Kind of read about the game as you go, but that's now 1 to 30 is what 5 minutes. It's insane.
Yeah, you're right because the problem is I played MapleStory a lot back in the day, so maybe I have a better memory of it. But the thing is, you're right because how quickly you move through zones in MapleStory 1 today is insane. You have it's actually probably worse than MapleStory 2. The pacing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's so much of the world becomes obsolete so quickly because what was cool about MapleStory 1 was you could be grinding green mushrooms outside Henesis, or you can be killing dark stumps in Perion, right? And they're around the same level, right? And there was multiple grind spots per level depending on which like city you were near or which city you were at. And there was just multiple different paths to level up if you wanted to. And you had to find the better grind spots, right? But now all of that is like lost almost instantly. Like within 5 minutes, like half of Maple World of the starting area, like the first continent, becomes useless to you, and you just kind of zoom past it.
Yep.
So the pacing has definitely gotten really wonky about that.
Yep. And again, we know where to go once we start. Once experience slows down, we know where to move on to. But a new player wouldn't. They would just be stuck somewhere, killing like they hit level 50 or whatever, and they're like, "What is this? Like, what am I playing? Is this a joke?" I remember when we played. What was that really crappy Chinese game? Edmonds or something?
Yeah,
Tantra, right? To me, it was a total joke because you were leveling so quick and it was so absurd. That's how I think new players would feel about MapleStory 1.
Yeah,
It's just too quick.
we gotta slow down, you know. Everyone's gotta take it easy, you know. The world's moving too fast these days. All right, we gotta.
I get that the developers want people to see the new content, right? And you were saying it slows down 150. You know what they could do then? They could just do what WoW does, and they could literally have new accounts new characters start at level 150. I mean, is that such a bad idea? Instead of making you waste the first, let's say 8 hours or whatever it takes, right? Why go through that? Just start you there. So when you leave town, you kind of progress at a normal rate, and that's it. You're done.
Fair. And even like some of these older games like Tibia and RuneScape, I mean, they're clearly doing something right. But like both Tibia and RuneScape are some of the most popular like MMOs outside of like World of Warcraft and ESO, right? Outside of, like the three biggest games. Honestly, RuneScape might be like in America, probably like in the top 5 of popularity of like MMORPGs ever. Old school RuneScape is more popular too than regular. So what old school RuneScape is doing, right? That formula is clearly working. So sometimes we say you can't go too hardcore, but old school RuneScape is hardcore. And I think, again, you can't go like, the only hardcore thing I would say stay away from is like the Mortal Online, the full open world, full loop PvP. Like that system doesn't work. We've seen it tried in Ultima. We've seen it tried in Mortal. We've seen it tried in like countless games. That doesn't work. It's a really cool concept that hardcore players love, but that's too hardcore. But I think the happy medium of old school RuneScape where death still kind of stings, and only in the wildy do you have like open world PvP. That's the happy medium, I think, and you don't have to coddle your players, and I think that works really well.
Speaking of a game that does not coddle its players, let's move on to another little story I put up this week. Eve is getting a mobile version.
The player base is ticked off. What a surprise.
About what game?
Eve mobile.
Yeah, there's a lot of hate, but from what I saw, it was actually not bad because again, they're not taking away development from the core game. It's a spin-off game. It's being developed by NetEase.
So it's not even made. It's not even like related to the. It has nothing to do with Eve Online as is. In fact, like CCP isn't even working on it, right? It's being developed by NetEase, and it's not even the Korean company that bought the game. So it's not going to take anything away from Eve. If anything, it'll make the Eve franchise bigger and maybe give them more money to develop regular Eve. So I also don't get the hate.
No, but from what I've read, so again, there's very little information now. I'll play this video, I guess. But they are being very ambitious here. So they're going to emphasize the whole open PvP, player-run corporations, alliances, resource control, territory control in a mobile environment. And at first, when I read that, I thought, okay, well, I guess are they just gonna make a shitty, strategy game like Clash of Clans? But from the trailer, it doesn't look like that, right?
It looks like Eve. It looks like Eve. Yeah, but do you think it's autoplay? You can't see it. You can't see it in the gameplay because I looked at the gameplay and I've seen a lot of Chinese and Korean MMORPGs with autoplay, and I don't see autoplay in this trailer. So it looks like an actual mobile Eve, but that seems too good to be true. There's got to be some autoplay nonsense.
I'm actually not against autoplay in the context of Eve because remember, Eve is a sci-fi game and there was autopilot in the game, right? And you could kind of queue your guns in Eve, even back in the day. So I think it's uniquely well suited for a game that kind of meshes. Here's the thing. MapleStory Mobile, right? When you click the autoplay button, it kind of feels weird watching your character do its own thing, right? But for me, somehow watching a ship do its own thing after you give it a command doesn't feel as weird because it's kind of like ships today have auto, right? Like all those ships in the ocean today, those cargo ships, they drive themselves unless there's a problem, then the human takes over, right? Which is how autoplay works, like in MapleStory. Your character does its own thing, and you take over if there's a problem. So for some reason, I'm more okay with autoplay-esque features in this kind of game than like a game where you control a character.
Yeah, I feel like, I guess if you do the autoplay kind of like a good balance between like a clicker hero style autoplay and some kind of MMORPG gameplay, it could be done in a fun way. But I just haven't seen it yet. Now, I've tried a lot of autoplay games. It just has not clicked for me yet.
And I just want to cover this. I thought it was hilarious. So obviously, NetEase and CCP put out a press release announcing Eve Echoes coming out in 2019 for iOS and Android. That's the mobile version, and they were really hyping up the whole social features. You know how they're trying to hype up the fact that it's going to be similar in style to the PC version. And I just highlighted this one quote from it's the last sentence of the press release. A deep and realistic social system is also being developed, which will provide players with an interconnected, futuristic, interstellar lifestyle. So those last 4 words are hilarious. An interconnected, futuristic, interstellar lifestyle. What the hell does that mean?
That's some marketing nonsense, is what that sounds like. I mean, I already can't imagine the social elements of a mobile game are going to be pretty limited already. I don't know. What are they trying to like encourage you to like turn on your webcam or something while you play or something? I don't get it. Like, I feel like social elements, I think, in a lot of MMORPGs aren't really well explored. But I feel like you're kind of limited with mobile, though, what you can do.
I think what they're going to go for is like the player-run company corporations.
Oh, that stuff. Yeah, the sandbox element I think would be cool. And then somebody said in the chat too, like mobile does need an actual hardcore MMO anyway. I mean, whether it's old school RuneScape that makes it really popular, like hardcore MMOs on mobile, or whether it's this EVE Online game, I do think we need it. And if a mobile game is hardcore and does well, I think it'll be really good for like mobile gaming.
Those words are way too deep to describe anything.
I agree. Yeah, I think so. Especially a mobile game.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, the video's got so many dislikes already. Everyone's kind of memeing about like,
oh, that's funny.
EVE's going mobile. What the fuck?
Let me see these dislikes. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, you're right. You're right.
I checked my calendar. It's not the 1st of April. Imagine if we have it. Haha. Imagine if we have an EVE mobile game. Oh, they're serious, you know.
That's funny.
But again, I don't understand the hesitation. Again, if it was like, I get it. I feel like if CCP themselves were making it, you could argue that like they're taking away resources. Yeah, but like they're not doing that. NetEase is making it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's let them try. You know, if it doesn't even do well in America, it might do well in Asia.
Yep. Speaking of Asia,
actually, we have some big. I want to cover this because we actually killed more time than I thought we did. But like, okay. Zenimax is making a new MMO. Did you hear about that?
I briefly heard of it from your news video, actually.
Yeah.
Give me the rundown.
There's very little deets, almost nothing. But this goes back to a previous conversation we had where I said basically we're not going to get any new big budget PC MMOs, and it looks like I might be proven wrong again, perhaps, because Zenimax, the guys behind Elder Scrolls Online, they're hiring people for a brand new MMO for PC and consoles based on an entirely new IP. So it's a big Western studio making an MMO for both PC and consoles. And I don't think I mean, it could just be like a one-off, really like low-budget meme game, but it's by a big studio. They make ESO. I expect it might be a big-budget title as well. So again, we know nothing about this. All we know is that for console and PC, and they listed MMO development experience as a desired skill. So because it's still in development, because they're still hiring people to develop this game, we won't hear anything about it or an official announcement probably for at least another 6 months. So we won't know anything about this for a while, but it does show once again that there is still an appetite for PC MMOs and by Western companies, which is pretty interesting.
You know what? Okay, so here we go. Let's play the speculation game, okay?
Okay.
So it's obviously not an Elder Scrolls MMO because we already have one.
Otherwise, they would have said it, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go on a limb here.
It's a new IP, an entirely new IP.
Okay, well, I don't think it's going to be a new IP. I think we're going to get a Doom MMO.
The fuck?
Doom, baby. That's my guess.
I don't know. Fallout, I think, lends itself better to an MMO. But then you still have Fallout 76.
We already have 76 coming out. Oh, here's why. Ready? Doom is going to be a copy of like Warframe-esque. So it's going to be MMO light, where you're going to have progression. You're going to have a shared, a saved character, and they're going to keep adding more content over the years. It's going to be like Warframe, but with Doom. That's my guess.
So let me ask you a question though. Was Zenimax the first one to add the system where your level and stats sync with the zone, or was that like Guild Wars 2? I know a lot of games have
Guild Wars 2 definitely did that, but I don't know
who did it first.
Well, let's see. When did Guild Wars come out, and when did?
But did Guild Wars 2 have it at launch too? I know ESO didn't have it at launch, for example.
No,
we know that.
They did not. No.
I mean, they could do a.
I'm gonna say they were not the first. That's just my gut.
But also Zenimax could make obviously you could say Fallout 76 is kind of an MMO, but like it's really not. Fallout 76 is like a Rust experience with servers, right? It's not really an MMO, right? I mean, it's not really an MMORPG especially. So I think if Zenimax wants to make they've done it with ESO, right? And I think ESO has been a big success. I mean, I think Bethesda's very happy. I think Bethesda owns ZeniMax, don't they?
Yeah. Well, no. Zenimax owns Bethesda.
Okay, ZeniMax owns Bethesda, same company, right? So
Yes.
I could see them, maybe monetizing one of their other IPs, right? And one of their other IPs being Fallout, right? So it could be a Doom too. They own that as well. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I think we've seen like FPS games try being an MMO. Destiny was the only successful one. There's been like Firefall and a few other ones, and it's never really caught on. Defiance was one too. It's never succeeded really, that concept. But Fallout is such a strong brand, and ZeniMax has already made a lot of money with ESO. It's one of the biggest MMORPGs in the West, right? ESO. It's not like that big, but it's one of the bigger ones. So I could see them doing with Fallout.
Again, I just think just the fact that Fallout 76 is coming out so soon. My guess is a different property, but time will tell.
Nova says maybe a Elder Scrolls 6 MMO. I can't. I don't think so because they're saying it's a new IP, right? And they wouldn't call it a new IP if they've already worked for ESO, right? So they wouldn't call it a new IP. It might be something completely random, like some other non, IP related to their current games. It might make some completely new thing, right? But I think they're happy with the money they're making off ESO. I mean, it was a very high budget game. I think it cost over $100 million to make. It's on our list of highest budget MMORPGs. So it's they spent a lot of money on it, but I think they're happy with the returns they're getting now.
Yep.
I'm not hyped for Fallout 76 Delta. What about you? I mean, that's like
Nope.
Actually, the biggest hype games right now are Red Dead Redemption 2 and Fallout 76, and both games I'm not hyped for at all, personally.
Well, I know Red Dead Redemption is coming out next year on PC. So I don't know if I'm gonna get it on PlayStation or just wait for the PC. We'll see.
But, I mean, it's good. It's still good that they're working on a PC MMO. It tells you that the PC MMOs are not dead. There is still money to be made in PC MMOs. All right. That's like one thing that a lot of cynics, including us, kind of have been saying for a long time. PC MMOs are dead, and it looks like there's still money being invested in these games. I want to mention one more thing too, which I thought was pretty interesting. So, I read an article on GamesIndustry.biz about Dauntless, the Monster Hunter-esque MMO. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you guess how many people are working on that game? Take a wild guess.
I'll say 50.
There are about 200 people working on the PC free-to-play cooperative action game as their primary focus on any given day. So the company itself has 90 full-time developers, but they also have a slew of outsourcers and contractors. So at any given time, there's about 200 people working on the game at any time, which is that insane?
That's
200 people on one game?
That is a lot.
How many employees does Valve have?
Valve only has like 250 or something.
No, it has to be more than that. 360. Valve has 360 employees, and that works for developing Counter-Strike Go, like one of the most successful FPS games of all time. Dota 2, which is one of the most successful, MOBAs of all time after League of Legends, the second biggest MOBA, one of the biggest successful PC games of all time. And they run Steam, which is a huge platform.
And they got Artifact coming out, which I know is
they work on Artifact, and they still update all the other games as well. And they do have 360 employees, but then you have 200 people working on Dauntless. Is that insane? And Dauntless still feels like the pace of progression is like pretty slow.
I haven't played
it
since
something?
beta. I know it's out now, but
yeah, I haven't played it since beta either. But like it just felt really slow how things went. The article said like their player base numbers they're very happy with their player base numbers.
Really?
It's 5 times higher than their most aggressive estimates.
Wow.
And they said Monster Hunter World launching actually expanded the audience a lot. Got people interested in like that kind of game. I'm actually kind of curious. Did it take 200 people to make Monster Hunter World?
I think it took more.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It just seems insane that like it requires that many people to make a game like Dauntless.
I think when I think of efficiency, in business, I don't think of Japan. Japan is known for just having big staff, and working them for 12 hours, even though 6 of those hours is out drinking with the boss.
I think when it comes to efficiency like this, I think the Chinese companies are the most impressive. How quickly they churn out games from like concept to like release. And they do on like such an impressive budget. I mean, obviously their cost of labor is a lot lower too. Within they get shit done
within like days of that Bowsette meme coming out. AliExpress was filled with Bowsette,
like of course,
like body pillows, plushies, everything, mugs, everything.
Yeah, so they get shit done real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Bowsette and Mario Party when thoughts? I would love to see that. All right. Too bad Chinese games are terrible, though. I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. I think a lot of Chinese games are pretty bad, but a lot of Korean games are pretty bad too. I mean, look at it that way too. There's a lot of like the most American games are awful too. So like I feel like most games are pretty bad, but that comes from a perspective like most TV shows are bad, most movies are bad, most games are bad too. So you got to find the gems, you know, of the pile.
Oh, speaking of China, I one more story I want to cover. So, as you know, as we talked about, China has banned all new game approvals. So you cannot legally launch a new game in China right now. And obviously, the big Chinese companies like Tencent have to honor this rule, right? But for some reason, Steam has never been banned in China. It's never been approved, right? But it's never been banned either. So that means anybody in China can download Steam and buy a game like, you know, GTA, whatever game they want, and they can play it. And it's not officially recognized, but it's not officially banned either. So it's a gray area. And obviously now a lot of Chinese indies and studios are realizing that since they can't release games officially, they're going to launch them on Steam. And we're seeing a lot of weird Chinese games on Steam now. And they're actually on the bestseller list, the most played. If you go to Steam charts, there's some weird like Chinese character games, and you have no idea what these games are, right? And that's because they're not really marketed towards us. They're marketed towards people in China. And one of those games is called Chinese Parents. And this is the greatest game I've seen in a while, guys. So it's a sim game. And you know how in America we have a sim games like the YouTuber simulator, right?
Yeah.
Well, in China, they have a simulator called Chinese Parent. You basically you're born with a kid. You're like, I guess you play a mom. And you have to get your goal of the game is to get your kid into the best college you can get him into. So you raise him as a kid.
Tiger Mom the simulator? Nice.
Tiger Mom simulator, exactly. So you got to get your kid to go to a good college and basically, you know, get him to a good elementary school, make sure he's studying, not playing too many video games, not being distracted by friends or drugs. And it's only available in Chinese. And it's sold really well. And there's even some English, you know, obviously some Americans are playing the game and reviewing it, even though there's no English, localization available.
Let's say people are playing Chinese Parents right now.
Well, if you want there's another one that's more popular. It's also Chinese only. It's called The Scroll of Tai Wu. And this one...
Yes, that was on the highest. That was like the most played list on here. It's pretty insane. It was on, if you look on the Steam charts, most viewed, it was something on there.
Yeah, and this
I
game
don't see it anymore, though.
It's only Chinese again. It sold 800,000 copies. It's a buy-to-play game. It sold 800,000 copies. Again, I have no idea what's going on in this trailer, but it looks pretty like intricate for an indie game.
Impressive.
So obviously, Steam has made millions in their 30% cut from all these games being sold in China. Now here's the question though: how is it that how is it that Steam is not banned in China?
Interesting loophole they got going on, I guess, because it's. I don't think they have a local partner, right? It just the website itself has not been banned.
Exactly.
So it's like a local company is running Steam there, right? So just people are just downloading off the American site and playing it that way, you know. And I think it's because of Dota 2 and PUBG that Steam really took off in popularity there.
Well, remember, Dota 2 is officially there through.
That's through Perfect World, yeah.
It's through Perfect World, but it's like a weird version of Steam that just has Dota 2 on it.
Yeah.
So I'm not counting that as a. But PUBG is, you're right. PUBG is how it took off, and they just never got around to regulating it. But I think as it grows, because now that it's, you know, all the other games are banned in China, or new games, a lot of new people have been moving to Steam in China, and right now there are 30 million people in China playing on Steam. That's about 25% of the total accounts created of all time.
Wow.
For Steam. So I think once it gets bigger, it's gonna get banned. That's my guess.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Tencent will complain that like all these games are coming out when they can't release games.
Yeah,
and they've
so
triggered a lot of pull. The historic Chinese Steam riots. We'll see.
They banned Twitch this week in China.
Yeah. What was the logic behind that? They want to just use their own Chinese website instead?
Well, the reason they didn't ban it till now was it was small compared to the local streaming services.
Yeah, it was competing then, yeah.
Right, but once Twitch got big enough in China that it kind of caught the eye of the censors in Beijing, they said, ban this.
You know why? There's ASMR on Twitch, and we all know ASMR is considered porn by the Chinese Communist Party.
That's right. They banned ASMR in China.
They're very...
The one thing I agree with that the Chinese government has done.
I've had lengthy discussions whether ASMR is porn or not. It's a fun conversation.
Oh, it's porn.
Altai says it's porn.
I'm firmly in the porn camp.
Well, the Chinese government agrees with you, Altai.
It's good to be on the side of the government for once.
They got to figure it out, right?
Yep.
Oh, people in chat agree with you too. ASMR, hey, to each their own, all right? I ain't judging. I know I watch my weird hentai too, so you know. Wow, definitely porn. Nice, beautiful. The people, the ASMR viewers though, a lot of them really adamantly defend that it's not porn.
Okay. Look, I know I'm going out of my way to find the most blatant examples of ASMR that's, you know, like sexual, right? To make my point, but look at this. Come on. Anything can be ASMR. Look at this. It's ASMR unboxing dresses, try on haul ASMR. So this
Nice.
girl just tries on dresses that she buys, and she labels it ASMR. How is this ASMR? Like how is this not
See,
just
I'll
sexual?
see, as your dick gets hard, it kind of like quivers a little bit and makes noise, and that quivering noise is the ASMR.
How is
you
this
get, right?
ASMR?
Thinking emoji.
I don't understand.
This is kind of hot. Yeah, ooh.
That's the point, though. It's supposed to be.
I like
just
the
hot.
angle. I like the angle when she bends over, you know, through the camera. It was nice.
Oh, Penguin Powered is saying it's not porn.
There you go.
So
I'm not sold that it's porn. Some of it can be pornographic, but I think a lot of people that watch it don't watch it for porn.
I disagree. I think they do.
But they ask people. And do you think people are just lying in those self-reported surveys?
Yes, I think they're lying.
Why? What motivation do you have to lie in an anonymous survey?
Because you don't want to admit it. You don't want to admit it to yourself.
Why? If people ask, but if they ask Americans, do you watch porn? They say yes, overwhelmingly. Like,
No,
there's not like
no.
a
Some
stigma.
say no. No. I bet if you go to
But
the
the
south.
numbers are like astronomical. Like if they ask Americans, what percent of Americans watch porn according to surveys? It's through the roof, right?
Okay.
But the percent of people that watch ASMR that say they watch it for like sexual arousal is like less than 5%. Yeah,
Well,
I agree. Maybe it should be 10%. Okay, but like it's still very low.
because I think it's still what's the word? It's kind of new still, so it's stigmatized. That's the word. So, for example, if you ask women like this is totally off topic, but if you ask them like oh, what percent have been like harassed or whatever, right? They're gonna underreport it because they're kind of embarrassed. So there's still an embarrassment factor with ASMR.
No, I mean I don't know. I think but the numbers would be much closer to reality with asking women if they were sexually harassed or harassed in general versus the ASMR. The ASMR was 5%. That's tiny.
I think they're lying. I think a lot more than
But
5%.
what motive does the line anonymous survey? I don't get that. I get it. Some are underreporting it. Like let's double that number to 10%, which is pretty significant for a survey.
I
to
think you'd
double
be
the number.
surprised by the number of things people lie on for no point.
Maybe. I think one good rule of thumb is when I was looking at it, when I was researching this out of curiosity, if you search YouTube for ASMR and you just scroll down, like how far do you have to go to find somebody that's unattractive? Pretty far.
I spelled ASMR wrong.
Like for the most part, the girls are like smoking hot, right? But you will eventually find like a really ugly girl, eventually, you know.
Yeah, this is nonsense. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's all sexual. This guy, this one dude. Wow, extreme ASMR upgrade. So Dr. T ASMR, he's a dude. So this one is not sexual.
Is he a good-looking dude?
Not really. This dude is kind of, I can see how he, if you're like a man boy lover, you'd like this guy. But this Dr. T ASMR is not good looking.
All right, maybe the ASMR for the post game.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when we get this off topic, it means it's time for the post game.
All right, thanks for watching for YouTube, and we'll go to the post game for a bit.
All right. Take care, YouTube.
Later for YouTube.